When you're going to manipulate anyone, but particularly a group of someone's, you use the truth about 90 to 98, 99% of the way. And then you take that 1 to 2% or up to 10% and you fill it with lies. That whole concept that was infiltrated with the religious indoctrination that a higher being is judging you. Why does that make you filled with judgment? Because they've created a hierarchy. They've created a system where certain beings are more valuable, more important. Some have more access. And none of it's true, but they've created this illusion. That is not a trait of reptilians. They cannot become more than they were before. They're a static creation. They are not capable of more, which is actually what frustrates them the most, which is also why they were really interested in human existence, because they wanted to explore why humans can do it and they can't. How you overcome reptilians in particular, which is who I'm talking to, and they're sharing the truth of why they came here, how they manipulated humanity, and how you fell for it, and how to get over it. That's exactly what they've shared in this entire episode. Welcome back to the Authentic Human Podcast. I'm Michelle Vickers, and today is part 41 rather, of the story of creation. So we've started to get into some of the deeper, and I don't want to say darker because it's not really darker. It's just the parts of our story that have been hidden strategically from us. Okay. And so today, we're going to go deeper into that. So we are going to go, okay. So yay, reptilians are back. And here's the reality. Okay. What I love the most about this work and being able to communicate with all beings, it doesn't matter, what their story is, where they came from. But when you communicate through energy, just like we were all created to do, you learn. You're learning about existence. You're learning about evolution. You're learning about creation and how everything works, right? Which ultimately is what most humans want. We want to know why we exist. We want to know and understand how the world works. The challenge comes from, we lose that interest when we're told so many lies, when we're told so many aspects of existence that, you hear it and you're like, okay, yeah, I read that. I know that. It's in my head. I have that as a belief. But what happens is when you layer on so many beliefs that aren't true, it's thick like mud. So what happens is you end up feeling like every conversation, you're wading through quicksand. It's exhausting and it's tiring. And this is why, as a human race, we're so exhausted because we're constantly looking for truth. We're programmed to look for truth. We're programmed to seek it out. Why? Because that's what we're meant to be doing, right? We're meant to communicate with our soul all the time. And we can't do that if we've forgotten who we are, which is why they've strategically made sure that we don't remember who we are. And ultimately, this is what we're going to be talking about today is, the strategic goal of the reptilian fan base is the way that they're sharing it. So a fan base means, okay, from the universal perspective, it means those who choose to participate in nefarious acts. So acts that they consciously know will cause harm, will cause indecency, will cause crimes against humanity. Okay, so a crime against humanity is anything that goes against original intention. And, you know, that's really, I mean, when we get into that, when you feel into the depths of that, this isn't just, this person or this group of people hurt humans or caused, death and suffering. This is understanding that not only is death and suffering not meant to occur at someone else's hands, right? You're meant to choose when you come into this life and when you leave this life. And so what they're sharing is crimes against humanity is understanding and recognition that you're participating in an energy that fuels devastation. Okay. But what you may not be aware of is that chances are pretty good that you've taken on an enormous amount. That's the words they're using. That's exactly how they're saying it. An enormous amount of beliefs that cause you to participate in the same thing. Now, this is the part that, it's not about creating more fear. It's not about creating anxiety. It's about coming to a place of recognition, right? This is 2025, the year of respect, which is respect is self-recognition. It's being able to look inside of yourself and honor the truth of who you're being, okay? Because there's the person you think you are, and there's the person you want to be, and there's the person you're actually being. And we hide a lot of stuff about who we are and what we think. We hide it from ourselves. Strategically, because we know instinctively we're participating at a level that goes against human existence. It defies the original intention of human existence, is exactly how they're wording it. And what that means is we need to start to pay attention. We need to recognize the level of participation that we're using that actually defies human existence. Okay. And when I say defies, that means when you go against your own nature, okay, you cause challenges for yourself. On the surface, this looks like having arguments with family and friends and coworkers and neighbors. It doesn't matter really, but on the surface, it looks like that. But underneath and fundamentally, what it looks like is, and the truth of it all is, you're highlighting your inability to access your own awareness. Every human on the planet is guilty of this in one way or another. Some of us more than others. It's not about judgment, okay? This is why humanity is terrified to look at the truth of who we are, because there was a indoctrination of a belief system, right, that came through religion. So this higher being, and the belief system that a higher being not only has set the rules for existence, but will be judging you against those rules again and again and again and again. That belief system was carved out by the reptilians. I need you to know that. I need you to feel that. Okay? Because here's the thing. When you're going to manipulate anyone, but particularly a group of someone's, you use the truth about 90 to 98, 99% of the way. And then you take that 1 to 2% or up to 10% and you fill it with lies. So religion, okay, organized religion. Organized religion means anyone who is interpreting the word of God, if you will, who is interpreting messages of the creator, okay? Because you have direct access to the creator. You do, right? Just like what I'm doing. That's why I always encourage you to feel the energy when I'm sharing messages, because you have the capacity to to feel it, to receive it yourself. Every human has been programmed that way, okay? And what happened is they gave you the awareness that there is a higher awareness, there's higher beings, right? Higher. And again, higher does not mean better than you, okay? At all. Because you are, and you were created to be a fully conscious being. You're just choosing not to because of the programming. Okay, we're going to get into all that. But right now, what they want to explain and what they want to help you understand is that the manipulation aspect was that let's bring this truth, okay, that there is higher beings, higher awareness, but you can't access them. Only a handful of people can do that. And they're special and they're gifted, or they're priests, or they're rabbis, or they're whatever religious indoctrination, wants to call them. It doesn't matter. What matters is, and the reason they created that system was so that they could interpret energy in a way that created manipulation, and the foundation of their manipulation is fear. Okay? Because when you can make someone, especially like someone as in a soul in this universe, when you can make a soul from this universe fear themselves, fear knowing the truth about themselves, you become powerful. You can control them. You can control them because humans are not only powerful, but we're meant to explore our own potential, right? But we're meant to do that logically. We're meant to do that in connection with the energy of all things and all beings. And that's why they ensured the manipulation through breaking your belief in that connection. Because if you believe you don't have access to your soul, or that having access to your soul is tricky, challenging, difficult, and that you can't do it, only someone else can do it, what happens is you will doubt yourself. You will second guess every message and every awareness that you receive, which means, again, you're feeding on fear and they can control you. That was the whole original intention, okay, of the reptilians when they came into this universe. Now, the reason we're talking today about this is because we're just touching on reptilians. There are many other beings that, I've explored over the last 20 plus years. And, their participation in human existence. Okay. We've got ETs, we've got all kinds of different ETs from this universe, from other universes. We're going to get into all of this. Okay. Why? Because it's your heritage. You need to know and understand who you are and what's happened, right? We need to know the truth. Not because we need to be angry at those who caused harm. That's not the point. That's a waste of energy. And that is why they have ensured that we are filled with judgment, right? So that whole concept that was infiltrated with the religious indoctrination, right? That a higher being is judging you. Why does that make you filled with judgment? Because, okay, they've created a hierarchy. They've created a system where certain beings are more valuable, more important, some have more access. And none of it's true, but they've created this illusion. And then what happens is we get together in groups and cause judgment. We throw judgment, we receive judgment. There are those of us who use it in so many ways. We judge ourselves. We throw judgment around like it's the currency of existence. Honest to goodness. When in fact, the currency of existence is connection. You're meant to be in connection with all universal beings, with yourself, with every human in your realm of existence, in your life. You're meant to be in connection with their souls, with universal beings, with the souls who created all of you. Why? Because you're exploring existence together. It's meant to be joyful. It's meant to be challenging because when you're challenged because it's something you love, you feel fulfilled. And that's why humanity does not feel fulfilled anymore, because we're living in a world where we are just getting by. We're filled with judgment, anger, resentment. We can't allow ourselves to explore our potential and experience fulfillment because we're so consumed with guilt and fear and judgment. And this was strategically designed that way because then you can be controlled. So that begs the question, why would these reptilian beings, okay, come from another universe? Why would they want to control human existence? What do they get out of it? Because remember, as souls, we don't do anything for no reason. As humans, we don't do anything for no reason, right? I mean, we think that we're just throwing judgment around for no reason, but we're throwing it around because it either makes us feel good or it makes us feel justified in our behavior. Every single thing you do is for a very specific reason. That's self-awareness, right? That's self-recognition. That is respect. When you come to that place where you understand yourself at that level, then humanity is going to move forward. And that's what's happening with 2025. The second half of 2025 is not going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's going to be more and more and more revealing of the truth of who you are, how you act towards yourself and towards others, so that you can recognize the person that you're actually meant to be. Okay, all of those parts of you in your life that you've left hanging. Oh, I'll deal with that later. I'll take care of that later. Later's now. There is no more waiting. All the pieces, all the healing that needs to happen as a result of different traumas that you've experienced and gone through, all of that needs to come out now. And that's what's going to happen over the next four to 8 months. Why? Because 2026 is meant to be the joyride after the hard work. But you got to do the hard work, right? And that's where this pressure is coming, in the sense of you can feel it. You have to deal with it. It's uncomfortable. That pressure is because the creator's moving forward. So this manipulation from these reptilians is being removed. Okay. But coming back to why would the reptilians be interested? Again, we talked about this a little bit in part 41. The reality is they don't really care for human existence. It's not important to them. It's not of interest to them. Their whole reason for existence is simplicity, but it's very basic, okay? And it's primal. They don't have a range of emotions that humans have. Well, okay. So they don't have the foundational energies of existence that all humans have. Okay. If you want to learn more about them, they're in belief. They're all 9 energies. And well, there's actually 10 because one has been created recently. It will tell you all about all of them. But the thing is understanding that When you allow yourself to fulfill your presence here, okay, you become more than you were before. That is not a trait of reptilians. They cannot become more than they were before. They're a static creation. They are not capable of more. It's fascinating. I've never seen this in this quite in this way. So it's really, really cool. Which is actually what frustrates them the most, which is also why they were really interested in human existence, because they wanted to explore why humans can do it and they can't, right? Why human souls, because again, you're a soul first. So why your soul can participate in evolution and they can't. Because in the universe that they came from, evolution doesn't exist. I need you to hear that. In the universe that they came from, evolution doesn't exist. And they have tried for more than 50,000 years to adapt and learn how to evolve. They cannot. So, what they did is they created massacres and disasters in order to try and block humanity from evolving. That was it. That's why they came here. They tried to evolve, they couldn't, so then they tried to block humanity from evolving. And neither of those things have worked for them, which is why they're struggling immensely right now. Their nature does not hold the capacity for evolution. That's brilliant. Okay, now this is also important. Okay, this goes back to what they were talking about in the sense of your need for fulfillment. You have a primal need for fulfillment. It is your job to participate and allow that to occur. When you do not, that is when you experience anxiety, depression, anger, resentment, judgment, when you are not participating in your own fulfillment. It's that simple. When you participate in your fulfillment, all of those things fade away because you're no longer feeding them. And that is the world the reptilians created. A world where you are so consumed with hate and anger and resentment, you cannot participate in fulfillment. How do you participate in fulfillment? By doing things you love that make you happy. By stopping, literally stopping, focusing on judgment and anger and resentment, and no longer participating in those behaviors and actions that cause you to feed those dynamics in your life. It's so simple, and anything universal is simple. Anything universal is simple. If it is complicated, it is human made, it is not necessarily reptilian, because there's a lot of different beings here that came here to create different levels of manipulation. And we're going to get into all of them. But how you overcome reptilians in particular, which is who I'm talking to, and they're sharing the truth of why they came here, how they manipulated humanity, and how you fell for it, and how to get over it. That's exactly what they've shared in this entire episode. So your job is to focus on what brings you joy and continue to feed it. That means that's where you participate. If you're angry because you wake up in the morning to a sink full of dirty dishes because of someone else, do the dishes. Just wash them. Don't walk around angry because somebody else made them dirty. That's you feeding that anger, right? And that self-righteousness that says they can't do that. Why do they expect me to wash them? Then don't wash them, but don't be angry about it. You've got to make a choice. But if you can continue to sit in your anger, then that's what you're feeding. And I know that sounds so simple, But it really is that simple. You have to choose which side of existence you want to be on right now. Do you want to be on the anger and the judgment and the resentment? Or do you want to be on truth and joy and fulfillment? You're going to have to take a look at who you're being, right? This isn't personal development. This is self-recognition at a level from your soul, right? It's the simple awareness of self-existence from a soul level that you were created to have. You were meant to have all of this awareness. And if you came into this life and carried it all the way through, you would never have picked up judgment. You would never have picked up resentment and anger and fear and frustration. They wouldn't exist in you. They only exist because you choose to continue to feed them. They are not universal energies. The only universal energies are truth and joy, purity, respect, compassion, balance, movement, illumination. There's one more. And then trust was created to bridge the gap from the anger and resentment and judgment to come back to the other side. Okay? Right? Those are the universal energies of existence. There's, joy. Right. Anyways, I probably said that, but they're in Believe. They're also on my website, michellevickers.com. If you want to look them up, it's fine. My point is that there's only 9 primal fundamental energies in existence that this universe was created based upon, and humanity was in alignment with the exact same energies. We talked about this earlier in the story of creation when they talked about the creation of different aspects, okay, and how you and all the different aspects of existence are aligned. Now, what's really interesting and what we want to talk about a little bit more is understanding that your heritage, your story that you tell yourself about who you are and why you exist, okay? A lot of that comes from generational beliefs. This is what you're also going to have to look at for the second half of 2025. Those generational beliefs that create those limitations are your generational beliefs or heritage-based, whatever dynamic it is, okay? You're going to have to start to look at if those are carrying judgment, if those are carrying resentment, anger, fear, because it's, even though, you may have carried it 100 generations deep, right? Because it's been around for tens of thousands of years. If you're still carrying it, that's who you're choosing to be in this world. And this is where the universe is saying you got to come onto the other side. You got to come onto the place of consciousness, self-awareness, right? And recognizing that you have direct access to the wisdom of your soul, all universal beings, and consciousness itself. So this is what we're really, the way they're showing me, it's like what we're really grappling with, right? And that a lot of times we talk about that mirror that shows you who you're being, right? Look at where you're most annoyed and frustrated right now, at the other people and what they're doing, because chances are 99% of the time you're doing the exact same thing. That's why it's bothering you so much in someone else. Is it fun? No, it's not fun to look at it, but it is the most rewarding thing you will ever do. And when you get to that place where you do it enough times, it becomes fun. It becomes exciting. And the more uncomfortable you get, the more excited you get, because when you get to the truth of what that discomfort actually is, you experience freedom. The freedom that comes from truth. And there is no other freedom in the world like it, which is why it's been strategically hidden from us. Truth is not your version of events and my version of events. That's not what we're doing here. This story of creation, the Authentic Human platform, everything is about helping you remember who you are, why you were created, and your ability to access directly from any universal being in existence. It's not so I can sit here and tell you how it is, because that's not how you were created to experience life and existence. You are meant to explore your potential. You're meant to go off and do incredible, amazing things. Right now, a lot of those things have to do with helping humanity resurrect and rise from this state of suffering and trauma and exhaustion, right? And the only way you can do it is by choosing which side you're going to participate on. Your fulfillment, your resentment, your anger, your fear, fulfillment and joy, anger, fear. It's up to you. Thank you so much. I love you. I'm so glad you tuned in. And please share below. Share below who you know you are. And maybe that part of you has been hidden for so long, but you're starting to find the courage to find it. I want to know. Share it with me. Share it with me, because when you share it here, you're putting it out into the world. You're making it a little bit more real. And then sink into it and explore that potential. I love you very much. And I will see you next time for the story of creation on the Authentic Human podcast. I'm Michelle Vickers. Bye for now.
Now, when you say the creator's going to get rid of these reptilians and others, whoever, is he going to send them off and then never come back again?
Are they being removed? Those who are choosing to participate. So the way he's wording it is those who are choosing to participate in causing physical pain and suffering are being removed. Yes. Those who are willing to participate in a way that embodies respect, they weren't created with the vibration of respect, so they don't have it in them, but they have the capacity to participate in respect and to participate in existence in alignment with respect. So if they choose to participate, they can still hang out here.
What came through so strongly was when I made a little change in a sentence I repeated over and over and over about a certain individual having done something to me.
Yes.
And the universe came along and said, change the to me as for me.
Yeah.
What did he do for me?
Yeah.
And the resentment went, the anger went. I got, pardon the expression, more balls to stand up and not be a doormat anymore.
Yep.
Which I had allowed myself to be.
Well, and that's it, right?
Oh, yes.
It's brilliant, because that's how you were choosing to be. And then you chose a different way. And it's one word that made such a massive difference. And thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to learn more, head on over to michellevickers.com. Join our mailing list to receive new episodes right to your inbox, or apply to be a guest on the show. If this episode made you think of someone while you were listening, forward the link onto that person with a little note about why it made you think of them, because the greatest gift you can give another human is to see the beauty and purity of who they truly are. Until next time, stay curious.